Hey, everybody, we're back with another episode of Coffee, Chaos, and Cashflow. And today, guest hosting with us is Gabbi McErlean. It is good to have you on, Gabbi. Thanks for jumping on the pod with us today. And today we are having on the platform here Michael B. Stevenson II, all the way down in the great state of Texas. Now, Michael, this just real quick as an intro here. He's done a few things, right? He's built solar farms. He's done Bitcoin mining, worked with a trucking company, run a bunch of different things in the business realm. And the risk that he's embarking on now is brisket. And I'm talking about beef. I'm talking about like really like the barbecue brisket. Okay. So he is going full time on a Tex-Mex brand that he co-founded with his fiance. We're excited to hear about it. Michael, welcome to the studio. How are you doing?
Doing great, doing great. I appreciate the intro.
For sure.
Hope I can
Well,
live up to the hype. So
hey, listen, you do have a bit of hype. Okay. I have known Yemi. We go all the way back to, I don't know, 2020, 21, somewhere like that.
somewhere,
And
yeah.
yeah, so a good while back. And I've heard a lot about you. So Mike, for those who are listening in, Michael is Yemi's brother. And he's always talked about his entrepreneurial brother down in Texas. So it's cool. It's like, oh, this is the first time I'm actually getting to meet the man, the myth, and the legend, as some would say. So it's going to be a great conversation. Looking forward to a fun time here. Yeah.
It's like what?
So, Michael, we'll hop around a little bit. Like, we're going to go through a few different things. Maybe give us just a quick overlay in terms of what's going on right now. You've done a lot. You've done a lot successfully, and having been through all of these different companies that, again, we'll touch here and there as we go. You're now going into what's called That Good Smoke, right? That's the actual name of the company you're starting with your fiance. I think a lot of people, when they're looking at somebody, hearing about somebody who has done solar farms, Bitcoin, trucking, and now brisket, to me, that doesn't sound so much like a resume as it sounds like four different personalities that have played out over the course of your career. Like this is pretty substantial, right? So talk a
Yeah.
little bit about that. What's got you into what you're doing now? Maybe just a quick run through of your background, and we'll jump into things.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. So I went to school for construction and engineering. So that is my background is construction. And so at the time, I was heavily involved in sustainability, just sustainability in construction. And as part of my senior class, we had an opportunity to be part of this construction program that allows us to basically go to Reno, Nevada. We get in a team and then we work through a problem that the judges gave us. Out of that, I met a CEO, and he worked for a company named Swinnerton. And Swinnerton had started a renewable energy group. And so I had a chance to meet with him. And out of that conversation, he offered me an internship. That internship turned into 12 years and a career growth into the solar industry itself. And so pretty much the bread and butter since college. Graduated in 2014. So ever since then, I've basically been doing solar. So that's been the bread and butter. Worked my way up from an intern all the way to a project manager. Last 2 years with Solve, I got a chance to build substations. So I focus mainly on high voltage construction, making sure we procured equipment on time, and we delivered those projects. And then after that, um, decided to kind of step away for 6 months. Had been going pretty heavy at the solar industry itself. And then in those 6 months, just took some time off. And then I decided to start with a newer company. They reminded me a lot of what Solve had started out as, 12 years ago, new into the solar industry itself. I really liked that part of kind of helping the company grow, build from the ground up, the processes. And so about 7 months ago, I started with PCL Construction. That's the name of the new company that I work for. And at the time that I started, that Good Smoke was really starting to like traction was starting to pick up. And we were starting to get a lot of events, a lot of requests to cater. And so when that started to happen, me and my fiance kind of had a we had a conversation about what would be the best next steps. And so for the last 6 months, we've basically just been discussing about going full time at that Good Smoke. It's a company that we started back in 2021. We've worked it on and off as I've kind of been doing my thing. And she used to be a waitress. So between all that, and raising 5 kids, it's kind of been tough. And so right now we're in a good spot where we think it's just our time to go full time at this. And so just kind of having this wrestle with myself if it's really time to let go of what I've known and to jump into something new that I think is more promising. And then also, there's nothing more, I guess, rewarding than working for yourself.
So solar, and in the intro, Aram mentioned Bitcoin mining, trucking, barbecue. I mean, on one hand, like, it's clear that you're a builder and everything, but is it also like are you a builder, or is it just like you can't sit still long enough to like dial in on anything? And I just, obviously being playful a little bit and everything, but these are a lot of like wildly different ventures.
I think it's a bit of both. Haven't been diagnosed, but I think I do have ADHD or something like that. I really like the start of stuff. I think that's really where it comes down to is I like to build from the ground up, the processes. And so with the Bitcoin mining, my high school friend, good friend of mine, Marco, he had reached out and he was like, "Hey man," and this was like in 2016, 2017. He was
Dang.
like, "Hey, there's this thing called Ethereum," and I was like, "I don't understand it. Digital assets. It was still new, and it's money that you own, but you can't see it or touch it." And so it was a pretty foreign concept to me. And he's like, "Are you interested in, building a rig?" And so I was like, let's go do it. I mean, like I said, you don't know what it is until you try it. And so jumped in. I think together we each spent like 5 grand, and we built this rig. And for a long time, really, it just paid for like the bill itself. And then eventually, when the price of ETH started to go up, um, we started like, making more. And then it was to the point where his wife didn't want it at his house anymore. Um, there was that one point where I was in a hotel in Palm Springs, and I had this rig in my hotel room.
Oh, wow.
And I'm mining with the
Yeah, I was like,
internet and free. What's that?
what does the rig look like? I mean, I'm a Bitcoin amateur, so like, because I was thinking like the oil rig, like, but that's definitely
Oh,
right there.
Derek's okay.
gotcha. So basically it's 6 to 8 GPUs that are basically put in a rack. You tie it to a PSU and a motherboard, and then a solid state storage. You hook it to electricity, you turn it on, and that's basically an Ethereum mining rig. And so that's basically what it was, is this ugly homemade thing that we use some L channel that we kind of put together with some wood. I mean, it's rugged
Well,
looking.
now
I
I understand why your wife is mad.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
It's it's great too because I've heard of people like trying to find like little closet office spaces to run these, but like if you could justify a hotel cost, yeah, just hook them up with a couple of hotel rooms and drain their electric. That's great.
Well, that was back when you were traveling for work, right?
Yeah,
Because you've
that's
been
back when I was traveling for work.
you were building like the various projects, like
Crap. So you were like moving this thing around too?
Yes, for a little bit. Yeah, I was moving it around and like,
Wow.
and then because the power was free, the internet was free, so we're like, we can mine for free, and so we're like, okay, let's try it. And then eventually, I'm like, hey, we got to find a place to put this. We started making, generating a profit, and so we got into a hosting facility. in the state of Iowa. And then so we basically put it there full time. The power was cheaper. And then again for like about 6 months, it was just like, hey, we're making enough to pay our bill. Then ETH went up again, and I think it wasn't in like one day like we were like reviewing what we had made and we had like 50K in there. And
There
I
you
was
go.
like, wait, this is more than a hobby, bro. Like we gotta like incorporate and and so we started an LLC back in 2020, and then from there we just grew. Um, as the DeFi summer came back in 2022, we made a lot, and then it gave us an opportunity to build a hosting facility of our own. So we built that, and then when Ethereum went to proof of stake, you could no longer mine, and so at that point we switched to Bitcoin mining, and we're still Bitcoin mining. We have about 3 megawatts that we self mine as well as we host for other people, and so that's kind of the mining and Bitcoin mining story of how we kind of got started and how we've grown into what we're operating today.
Is it
That's
just you
awesome.
two still employees of that company, or did you guys grow as well to have other employees?
Um, so it's just us two, and then we have a contract laborer. His name is Nate. He comes in and he does the day-to-day maintenance. Because neither of us live in Iowa, so when the rigs go down, anything needs to be restarted. Nate lives there about 20 minutes from site, and so he's our contract labor that we have, kind of keep everything up and running.
Now, tell me a little bit about what you did with Sunscreen. So, my understanding, this is a software for quality control, right? Um,
Yes.
out of the kind of utility scale solar, right? So, when you were developing that, did that come out of like how did that come about first of all? Because you're already in solar, and then you're developing this. Uh, what was it? Did you just see a need that hadn't been addressed yet when you developed that or went into it? Or was somebody say, hey, Michael, you know what like they gave you a project and said, hey, go develop this? Because that ended up, turning off to its own thing altogether, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a bit of both. So at the time, we were building a utility scale project in Utah. It was the largest at its time, and at the time when I was a project engineer, my role was to manage QA QC, and it was it was all binders, and so I had like these like 6 like 8-inch like huge binders, and they're papers. And
Jeez.
and so I'm managing this thing, and so the way the paperwork worked is like you would give people a sheet. They would go out there, check if they find an error, they would circle a component. And it was like a bird's eye view of the array. And so they would circle the component, they'd bring it back to you, you would log the date of basically this is when they found it. You give them that same paper back, they would go circle that component again, and then they would say, this is when I fixed it. And then you'd have another sheet, same kind of layout, where somebody would go and verify. And so we're like, so you could figure like we have these 8-inch binders.
Crazy.
Those where it's like he'll figure it out type thing. So
Dude, it's so cool.
like
Wild.
and obviously he'll dive more into Sunscreen and everything, but I've used Sunscreen before, and it was cool, for its time. I mean, it was like 10 years ago when I used Sunscreen.
Yeah.
So Swinnerton it's now become Solve Energy.
Okay.
But Swinnerton was one of the oldest construction builders in California. Like their license number was like 92.
Dang.
Yeah. So they're one of the oldest builders. They started this renewable division, and Michael's not gonna brag about himself, but he 3 weeks into his internship, and it was a paid internship, he found something that saved some ridiculous amount of money, like 5 or 6 figures or something like that. He found, and they wanted to hire him before he'd even graduated, college, but he talked to a lot of people, and he realized it made sense for him to finish the degree for that particular field. so he finished his degree and everything, but he, again, just different ideas. So when he brought Sunscreen to management, he already had their ear because he had saved them so much money. He was very good at what he did. And so he basically spearheaded the entire development of Sunscreen.
Yeah. That's
so
crazy.
it was it was, and the thing about it was that it was like it was loaded onto these iPads, and it was geolocation, so that way if there was a particular set of panels that went down, which is called an array, you could go to it and inspect it, and then depending on what the repair that needed to be done, you marked it, and then from there someone else would go out there and repair it, and they could within the app notate that something had been done or not done, when it was done, that kind of thing. And it was really cool because it was this real-time like geolocation thing, which, I mean, in 2016, like obviously location services were on for things like this, but it's just not the prevalence that it is today. And so having that, it was really cutting edge. And I think his only regret is that like he didn't get a piece of it because it was developed on company time.
Apologies.
We were just talking about you. Yemi, short version is Yemi was telling us about all the backstory to how Sunscreen took off, and the downside being that you didn't have any equity stake in the in that development. So I was like, oh, because that's what we're all wondering is like, okay, cool. So this thing did really well. Is he like on the cap table before it like took off? Or
No, and that's the story to every entrepreneur out there. Make sure you
That's
get
great.
something inked that you get a
Yeah.
percentage.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So so if he filled you in, like I said, it was a monotonous process. We talked a way to digitize it, and then we were thinking of like using big screens and putting Excel on it. And then I think that weekend our CEO came up and we were just talking about the process, what we plan on doing the project. He's like, hey, let's build an app. And then it was like, okay, sounds cool. We went and got drinks. We started drinking. And I think like he was like, let's build an app. And I'm like, oh, like you're serious about this? Like I thought it was a joke. And so next couple weeks, he got with a company called the Engine is Red. And then we signed a service agreement with them. I think it was like $650K at the time. I remember that because I was like, what am I doing? Like it had never been done in the industry.
It's crazy.
Didn't even know what I was doing. And so from there, we just kind of built this thing with this company and slowly morphed. And Yemi got a chance to guinea pig it on one of the projects that we were on. And it just grew and kind of morphed into its own thing. When clients saw it, they really liked it. It offered a visibility into site that wasn't really there. And it's a good product. I would say that the development of it really didn't go as far as I kind of assumed it would. Just because the way I envisioned it is like you could tie cost and revenue to each piece of component that you installed. So similar to the NASDAQ, like you can literally get day by day revenue versus cost.
Yeah.
I think their goal is to morph it into that, but yeah, then since I was a project manager at the time, development kind of stopped once it worked, and they're like,
Sure.
okay, go back to being a project manager.
Thanks, and
yeah.
Thanks and bye.
So how long did you stay there after that?
I stayed about another 4 years after that. Just because it was a great company. It was the only company I had ever worked for. Like, so in my career, like I've only worked for 2 companies, like Solve and then this new company.
So is this where the trucks come in?
No. So while I was at Solve, so I did a lot of this stuff while I was at Solve.
Oh, so were we like dual wielding? So you started trucking while you were still solaring and mining on the side?
Yes.
Okay.
nice.
I needed a timeline because there was a lot of things.
Yeah. So 2020, Mine to Hodl, which is the mining company that got started. I want to say about 2022, I had a friend who worked for Sol and was like, "Hey, I've been listening to these hotshot trucking podcasts, and I think we can do it." And I'm just like,
Nice.
"All right, cool." And then we got into it. We bought a truck, we bought a trailer, we got our MC going, figured out invoicing, all that stuff, and like we were rolling strong. I think the biggest shock in trucking was how expensive the insurance is. It's like 30,000 a year, and I was like,
Yeah.
"What are we doing?" And so it was going good, and then it was actually 4th of July, 2022. We got a call, and our driver had like wrecked our truck, like totaled the thing. I mean, he was
Yikes.
good, but like he had just gotten back from a long haul, and we assumed that he was going to go home. He decided to take the truck out to like go ride around with his friends, because this,
What?
just to clarify, it was a hot shot, so it's like a truck and a trailer, not like your big
Okay.
18 wheelers or anything like that. It's just a heavy duty truck and a trailer. And so he decided to take the truck around, and then like we had a dash cam on it. And so like my partner calls me like, and I'm in Florida at the time on vacation. He calls me. He's like, "Hey man, I got some bad news." And I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Our truck got wrecked." And I'm like, "Nah, you're joking." Like, and he's like, "No, I'm serious." And so I get on the cameras and I'm like reviewing what happened, and we can see the driver just driving, and he like veers off, and he runs straight into like I think it was like a light pole or something. Totaled the truck. At that time, me and my
Jeez.
business partner were like, insurance paid for the truck, and the trailer we sold in. We were like, we're done.
Yikes.
Yeah, wrap that one up quick. And so got a chance to do the
Jeez.
trucking thing, but it's tough. It's tough. I mean, I think the biggest thing is payments and invoicing. If you ever do a trucking company, make sure you do the factoring, where you get a company that pays you in 2 days, and then they go after the invoices. Because I remember like calling up Landstar and some of these biggest names trying to get an invoice. Like,
They're like, "Oh, we're net 90."
yeah, they were in at 90. I'm like, dude, I can't. I need you to do net 10.
Yeah. Dude, it's so funny. With payment terms are one of those things that a lot of times when you're setting up with a corporation, if you have that conversation early on, they'll work with you, just depending on who it is. Our first commercial contract in the cleaning business was with Kroger
Mhm.
for one of their manufacturing sites. And the continuous improvement leader sits down. He's got his finance lady there, and it's him, a couple of people. He's like, "Okay, so what do we would need to do for payment terms?" And Cheryl's like, "Well, Kroger's default terms is 180 days, but we could probably get it down." I'm like, "Yeah, that'd be great if we get it down." It's like, that's
Net
6
180.
months of payroll here. It's like, and no kidding, it became net 15. It was like, "Oh yeah, well we can make it whatever we want." But if you didn't tell them, it defaulted to 180. I was like, "Yeah, let's not do 180."
You can't survive with
Like,
payment terms
jeez,
like
dude.
that.
It's crazy.
So I know that I want to get back to the mining, because this is fascinating to me. I mean, I know that Mind to Hodl started like it was garage hobby, you and Marco, and it became this bigger operation to where it's not just your own machines, you're hosting other people's machines and everything. So why is hosting more important than simply self-mining, for those of us who don't know?
So hosting, think of it as like Amazon AWS, and I explain this to a lot of people. With hosting, you're just offering like a place for somebody to house their machines, or you could have their machines and then they're paying you a service fee. So you get basically a fixed income. So regardless if their machines are profitable or not, you basically are selling them essentially rack space. We're hosting, you put up the capex for the machine itself, and then if there's a time where Bitcoin's down, you either have a bag that you put away and you saved, because at that time you're mining for a loss, and you're still responsible for that electricity. So there's like a break even point when you mine, where if the price of Bitcoin dips below a certain price, you're basically paying to mine.
Right.
And it works sometimes if like the couple months prior you were making more than what your electricity cost is, so you have that surplus of Bitcoin that you can sell to cover those bills. If not, you either have to decide to keep a machine on or turn it off, because when the bill comes, you got to pay that bill. And so with hosting, you don't really have that. That's somebody else's problem. But at the same point, when Bitcoin is running and there's an upside, your income is capped at whatever that rack, service charge is. Whereas if you self mine, you basically mine at a profit as much as Bitcoin is up.
Yeah.
And I also I gotta ask, because so Hash Hive, I didn't bro, I didn't know you were running Hash Hive. I was like, oh.
He saw the spec sheet come over and he's like, wait a minute.
No, it's I know you always have ventures and everything. What's the difference between the two operations?
So when I left Solve, I had a 401k. And so
Okay.
a couple options with 401k: either you liquidate it, you pay a bunch of taxes, or you roll it over. Through some research, they got this program called ROBS, which is a rollover as a business startup. Really cool. If you have a 401k and you don't want to wait till you're 59 and a half or whatever to access it, you can do a ROBS. And so when I found that program, that's what I used to basically roll my 401k into Hash Hive. Has to be set up as a C Corp, but you can basically take that money, roll it over, use it in a business, and then your taxes are deferred.
Okay.
So that's cool. And the way the guy explained it is like, would you rather pay interest on the seed or the harvest? And so the great part of the ROBS is, as you're, 30 some years old and you roll it over, once you roll it over, all the profits that your business makes are basically tax free.
Okay. Interesting.
Oh,
so you're basically paying, yeah. Unfortunately, I wish I probably would have rolled that money into that good smoke as opposed to Bitcoin mining, because price of Bitcoin's in the tank right now. But it's a cool concept, for any entrepreneur out there that has a 401k and they're like, hey, I got this venture, I'm really loving it. It's what I want to do. Like, say you have a HVAC company that you want to start. That's a great way to take that 401k and apply it, and not having to sit there and be like, what do I do? I don't want to give half to Uncle Sam. And I'm tired of my job and I want to do something else.
So, Michael, it sounds like a lot of what you've done to this point has been pretty systematized. You've figured how to make things work inside of a system, roll it out, and get it to operate correctly. Now, coming into that good smoke, you're doing this with your fiance. This is a different, sounds like to me like a different type of operation. I think it's one thing to go from a high level operator to a partnership. And saying this as someone who's married and has done businesses with my wife, yeah, it's like there are pros and cons to everything, right? So I'm curious, like, walk us through where you're at now. Why go through all of the success as an operator in these other fields to say, hey, you know what? We're going to get into Brisket and go full time there. Like, what was behind that? What are you guys excited about there? Why are you doing it as a partnership with your fiance instead of just running a solo operation? There's a few questions, I guess, bundled into that. So,
okay. I'll start with the reason why is just the kids. Me and her agreed a while ago that we want to leave something to our children. Often the hardest part about leaving any business to anybody is just the starting of it, getting it off the ground. And so her and I both love to cook. She's a much better cook than I am. She was in the she's an army vet, and in the army she was a cook. So she kind of ran the DFAC, fed 1,000 to 2,000 soldiers a day. She's been working in the kitchens or different kitchens since she was 14. So she's just got this great background. in basically how to run a kitchen. And so I've always had a love for grilling and barbecuing. My brother can attest, like lived in Long Beach. Remember times we were trying to start the fire, we would like there would just be smoke billowing down the hallways, and like we would hear it like we used to live by this fire station, and so we would hear it
No.
sometimes, like they're coming to get us, they're coming to get us.
So bad.
That's awesome.
And so I've always loved to grill. I love to cook. I've always envisioned myself, like once I was done doing this corporate world, I would open a chicken spot, just do grilled chicken, and lemonade. That was the thing. Grilled chicken and
Okay.
lemonade. Find somewhere close to the beach, and just sell chicken and lemonade.
Great.
And
Okay,
so what was that?
I mean, kind of hand in hand, you know, it's brisket instead of chicken.
Right, exactly,
Do you have
exactly. I was
sweet
just
tea too?
Yeah, we do sell sweet tea.
There we go.
And so yeah, basically took her passion, and we coupled it together. The name I originally came up by myself. She always wanted to be a caterer, and so we're like, hey, let's just do this. And so for like, we live in a small town in Texas, and so they would have an annual event, just celebrating the community, and so we just decided to do brisket. She'd done brisket in the past. I had recently bought an offset smoker. And so we started doing it. And then it was just like a hobby thing. And
Mhm.
then I remember when I was with Solve, we had this welder in Illinois. And one night we were drinking, and I'm like, man, I want a smoker. Like I showed him a picture of it, like a big one. Like, oh, I want a big one. And then like one of the coworkers was like, hey man, Noah's working on your smoker, and I'm like, okay, whatever. And then like he sends me the picture of this trailer and this smoker, and then he's like, yeah, here's your bill for $8,000. And I'm like, wait, what?
That's great.
Like, you really built it? Like, I mean, I was kind of just joking at the time, like, you know. And so when push came to shove, I ended up paying for it. I got it brought from Illinois to Texas, and then at that point, it was like, man, this thing's got to pay itself off.
This is great, because I think some of the best ways to get into entrepreneurship full time are to like baby bird, like get pushed out of the nest. So for me, it was getting fired in 2020. I was like, I don't want to go back into the same job, so I started a business. So it's like another alternative is you have someone build you a smoker and be like, here's the bill, you buy this now.
Yeah.
No, take that.
Yeah, I had this dilemma, like, do I tell him I'm not paying it? Like, but he worked like months to do it after work, so I'm like,
So great.
I was like, hey, I'm gonna do a payment plan with you.
Too good.
And so yeah, I ended up paying it off, and then from there we started just doing it full time, and then people really started to like the brisket. And so like from there it was like we started out doing brisket tortas, then we went to brisket burritos. We did that for a while.
Nice. Okay.
We did tamales. We bought a tamale machine. And then like our thing was new age Tex-Mex. Is like, so we're like Tex-Mex except for it tastes good, because like if you know like Tex-Mex, for a long time it just didn't taste good, you know. But it's like this whole thing, and so we were like, we're new age Tex-Mex. We make everything from scratch. We don't use any high fructose corn syrup or anything like that. It's butter, sugar. When we smoke, it's not charcoal, it's pecan wood, 18-hour smoke almost each and every time. We basically just went back to like, hey, if we're gonna do this, we're gonna do it right. You know, we feed the food to our kids, so we want to make sure it's good. We sold sodas for a while, but we don't really want our kids to drink sodas, so we ixnayed those out. And so now it's lemonade, sweet tea, sometimes like strawberry or watermelon lemonade. And so yeah, we basically said that's all we're gonna do. And then yeah, we just started getting traction. Then about 2021, beginning of 2021, right as COVID was kind of starting to taper down. We decided to buy a food truck, and so we bought a food truck, and then operated that on and off.
You guys are full time with the food truck right now, right?
No, she's
Okay.
full time. I'm still part time at PCL, getting ready to make my transition. I told them that my last day was the end of August.
Okay, so you're
Yeah,
already giving notice. I was gonna say, like, do we need to hold off on this episode before like word comes back to your employer? By the way,
Right?
Awkward conversation.
Yeah, because that was going to be my next question. With doing full-time food truck, how do you balance like the portfolio? Because in my personal, I love going to food trucks. We have a garage bar right up the road that we are there at least once or twice a week. Um, with family stuff, usually like in my experience, they're parked outside of bars and events. So that's weekends, that's nights. Um, how do you diversify your portfolio to like still do family stuff? Or how does your wife do that now?
It's tough. I mean, for a long time we brought them with us. I mean, our biggest thing was like, hey, it's a family business. So my youngest daughter, she's 3. She was a food truck baby, so she was in there as a baby. Be selling when we could, have her on the floor sleeping. I mean, that's probably not the best way
that's
to
cool.
run the business, but she's a food truck baby. The older kids, I think at the time they were 11 and 12, and so they were helping out with customers, helping, with their people skills, counting back change to them. And so for a lot of it, we've brought them with us. So most times two of the 5 are with us, selling on the food truck. The oldest boy, Brando, we've taught him how to smoke brisket. So there's times where it's like, hey man, I'll start this off, but hours 10, 8 to 18 is all you. You manage it, you make sure the fire stays up to temp. And then whenever you think it's finished, you let us know. And so we really just made it a family ordeal. Um, my parents are out here in Texas, so they help us with, as well. Whenever we have events that are super hot and we don't want, the smaller kids to come with us, the bigger kids have things to do, we'll just leave them with them, as well as friends. So I mean that's probably the biggest juggle of it all, is really trying to make sure that we're not working too much, and working enough that our clients feel like, hey, we haven't abandoned them. And so this past 4th of July, we, like, for the last 4 years we've worked 4th of July. This year we didn't. And that was kind of our compromise, like, hey, like, we'll work before, but we're not going to work this 4th of July. So sometimes just making those sacrifices, but it's really just getting them involved. It's like those Chinese restaurants you go into and like the whole family's like,
Yeah. Yep. That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then currently right now, we're working on getting some sauces in stores. They're actually being tested. We just got through our pH test for our barbecue sauce and salsa. Those have passed. Now they're doing the shelf life stability. Actually, right before this call, I actually got a call from the co-packager. So next thing we're doing is signing an NDA and sending it to them so we could do the flavor test. And then once our shelf life comes back, we'll work on getting some stuff in stores.
Is that sort of the long-term like scaling operation, is to go through, a product company with sauces, as opposed to actually a food product that you're churning out of a truck? Is that sort of, you're just experimenting to see how it's going to go, or is that the plan to go to scale eventually down the road? Would it be essentially through product like that?
It's just another stream of income. So we look at it as of, we love to sell food. It's our passion. We're planning to go from a food truck to a brick and mortar one day. But the sauces is just exposure in another line. I mean, we get a lot of people, since, like I said, we make everything from scratch, all natural ingredients. We just get a lot of people that are like, hey, do you guys sell your barbecue sauce? Hey, where can I get your salsa? And so from there, we were like, let's just offer it as a product. and then it'll allow us a little bit more of that flexibility with the family, where we're not so driven to sell all the time, because we have that stream of income that basically sells on its own. And so ultimate goal at the end of the day is brick and mortar with the brisket. Our barbecue is more like fast food in a way, in the sense that we make all the briskets, we keep it warm. But when you come to us, you're getting a brisket taco, a brisket burrito, brisket mac and cheese, brisket nachos, brisket fries. And so we can get most orders out, depending on size, in about 5 to 7 minutes.
Okay.
Not like fast food where they try to go under 2 and they got the
Sure.
clock, but like we're talking about like really good brisket,
Yeah.
really good
Yes.
food.
Yeah.
And you can basically come up and within 5 minutes, like sometimes it's like 2 minutes, depending on what you want. Like you're out of the door in 2 minutes. And so ideally, the ultimate goal is to be like the new age Dickies. I'm not sure if any of you guys have ever been to Dickies.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's room for other people to come in. So
Uh-huh.
the
So
goal is to
is
be like
Yemi, having been up here in Lexington for a while, he can tell you about the small market for good barbecue. We have one verifiably good barbecue that I know of, a second one that I think Yemi's tried before that is probably okay. But there's like not a lot. So when you're into the brick and mortar scene and ready for another location, I think Lexington would be a
Yes.
great spot.
You would sell
Sure.
out constantly. That's for
Uh-huh.
sure.
Yes.
perfect.
Well-
Perfect. That's what we're looking for.
To a builder sitting on a stable paycheck, terrified to leave, what's the one piece of advice you would give them?
Oh, just go for it.
One liner.
I mean,
That's all
just
you
go
have.
for it. I mean, it's
The Nike, just do it.
just do it. Exactly. Just do it. I think the biggest, you hear a lot of older people talk about their regrets, right? And one of the big ones that I hear is I wish I'd have taken more risk, right? I think that's a common one. Don't be so caught up in possessions or money or stuff like that. But the biggest one is taking more risk. And I'm not getting any younger. And I mean, I've done some great stuff for companies. I've worked hard. And I just think if I work that hard for myself, what can be the return? And even
Yeah.
if this thing only ends up to getting one location, that's one location we can leave to our kids. So seems like the chance of failure is there, but it's lower than what success will look like, as long as put everything into it. And plan B is just work plan A better.
Yeah. It's interesting you say that. I remember years ago, a mentor telling me, and he'd built his own business, and he's like, man, he's speaking to a small group of us, and he says, what have you guys got to show for all the work that you've done? You've been at your job for 5, 10 years, whatever it is. What do you actually have to show for that outside of a nest egg or a 401k or whatever, wherever you put money away outside of that? What has those years of everything you put together for the company you've been at, what can you actually walk away with? What's the thing that you can say, hey, this is me. If you're gone and you leave tomorrow, or you get fired, or you change, they don't care. There's nothing there that's oh yeah, this was Aram's incredible impact here. We're gonna put your name up, right? It's that's kind of the thing about going into entrepreneurship, is that you have something to pass on. It's yeah, we created this. I didn't just work for it. I didn't just get a paycheck. I didn't just put money away. I have this. I own this, and it can go towards the family down the road or something like that. So it's funny because I haven't heard somebody talk about that in a while, but it kind of, what you said there harkened back to Bruce saying that to me way back in the day. So I think it's a good bet for future entrepreneurs.
It's probably the biggest one out there is what's your legacy going to be? And chances are corporate America is not going to be talking about what you did. So.
That's true. Not likely.
Very true.
Good.
So, Mike, you want to tell us where we can find that good smoke? sauces, retail, socials, you know.
Yeah.
So our website is thatgoodsmoke.com. So we have that. We're working on a website revamp. So it's up, but in the next 3 months you'll see a change. You can find us on Facebook or on TikTok and Instagram, thatgoodsmoke.com or that Good Smoke Barbecue and Grill. And then eventually on that website, once we kind of get through this whole sauce thing, you'll be able to buy our sauces. We also have some spices, our pork dust, and our Texas grit. So once we kind of get everything up and running on our website, you'll be able to buy yourself some excellent sauce. We do have a wide variety of sauces. We have our sweet smoke, our original, our yellow gold, and then our salsa is hachita.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm doing a little plug there.
There you go. Love it. Love it. And a future brick and mortar here in Lexington. It's awesome. Good stuff. Well, man, thanks so much for coming on and sharing with us today. Like I said, it's a pleasure to actually finally meet you after hearing so many things for the past few years from Yemi. So this has been awesome.
Thanks,
Well,
Al.
Michael, have a wonderful rest of your week. Thanks again for hopping on here. And man, I look forward to staying in touch and hearing what happens from here.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, I appreciate it. And you all have a wonderful evening.
All right.
Thank you.
Cheers.
See you. Cheers.
Cheers.